What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I would like to welcome you back to the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. On today's episode, we have got on another wonderful guest, and this is Miss Teen Crypto. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you for having me, Zuby. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored as always. I'm in Miami right now, actually, for the various Bitcoin conferences that are going on. So, yeah, a lot of Bitcoin on the brain today. So, who better to talk to?
Awesome. Yeah, Miami is great. And, meeting people in person really solidifies a lot of relationships.
100%. I love people as much as they annoy me. So I've done a very brief intro right there. But for people who are not familiar, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Randy. I've been in the crypto space since I was 17 and I'm 20 now. And my goal has always remained the same, which is to spread crypto and NFT adoption to Gen Z and educate the masses on cryptocurrency and NFTs, because I feel that I think a lot of people should be educated on crypto. I think this is a digital revolution. And especially amongst Gen Z, I found that a lot of people were behind the curve instead of spearheading this revolution. So my goal was just to educate people. I started in 2020. By the time, I was 17, a junior in high school, I started hitting the streets by November 2020, asking strangers if they knew about Bitcoin. I was minting NFTs. I started going to conferences, teaching workshops all around the country to middle school, high schools, colleges, still doing that now. And I'm just fortunate to be doing it. I also have a daily podcast Monday through Thursday called The Daily Zest, where I do daily news. And then I have the Missing Crypto Show as well, where I interview amazing people like Zuby, who has been a guest in the past and hopefully again in the future.
Awesome. So there's a lot to get into right there. So tell me a little bit about how did you get into the world of crypto?
So I actually started hearing about crypto when I was 13 in 2016 because my dad was just telling me about this Bitcoin thing. And I thought he was crazy. I didn't know what he was talking about. All I heard were numbers, adult things. I just thought people in finance just knew about Bitcoin. And he was also going to conferences, meeting people online. I was like, what are you doing? By the time I was 16 in 2019, we did our first Bitcoin transaction. And that's when I had my light bulb moment, where all you have to do to transact with crypto is scan a QR code, copy and paste an address or a username. And that's it. Anyone, anywhere in the world with an internet connection, not even anymore, can send and receive value. It didn't matter what age you were, where you came from. I also saw the appreciative aspect of Bitcoin as well, where I had $200 in my bank account at the time when I was 16. And I saw my $200 was always $200. I was taught when I was little, you keep your money in the bank, you earn interest. But instead, I saw my purchasing power was going down. So I figured, why not just put that $200 in Bitcoin? There's only 21 million Bitcoin to ever exist, and there's billions of people in the world. And then by the time I was 17, I was a junior in high school, and I just created Miss Teen Crypto during the lockdowns because I just wanted to be a part of something positive and just do something positive.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't know that you started during the lockdown. So was that was the motivation to jump online and start putting yourself out there, or were you doing it at all prior to that?
So I had, I was really interested in school, like I was a complete nerd. My overall average for 4 years was like a 97. So I was like really deep in school. And, when the virus came around, the pandemic came around, everything just stopped. And I was really into crypto, but I just didn't create the account. Something was holding me back. And I was just following people on my school account, but I wanted to separate that. So, I was really used to saying like good morning to everyone when I came in school as well. So when I had jumped on Twitter, I started saying good morning, crypto Twitter, doing videos like that. And, I just started tweeting and I just want to do something positive. Then I found that crypto is my passion. Miss Teen Crypto is my passion. Everything I've ever wanted to do with my life ties into this perfectly. So I felt like once I fell down the rabbit hole, I guess you could say, of crypto Twitter and the world of crypto, I knew I could just never look back and go the traditional route.
That's really interesting. So, of course, as we record this right now, it's Bitcoin week here in Miami, where I am, and there's, of course, this is a Bitcoin, Bitcoin maxi conference. So even just the word crypto, even for people who are in Bitcoin, it can be a bit of a trigger word. Right. There's the whole Bitcoin versus crypto debate. There's going to be a lot of crypto bashing at the
Unfortunately.
over the next couple days. So what are your views on the whole Bitcoin versus crypto debate? Because I think to people who are not in the world at all, they're not even aware of this, right? They just think, okay, like Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, like it's all, they kind of see it all as the same thing. And then for people who are in the world, you have got this bifurcation between people who are into Bitcoin and just Bitcoin. You can call them, Bitcoin maximalist is the term people use, and so on. And then there's the crypto space, which includes Bitcoin, but also people are interested in some of the things you've mentioned, Ethereum and other altcoins, NFTs, all that kind of stuff. Whereas from the Bitcoin maximalist mindset, like all of that stuff is a scam. It's all garbage. It's all, S coins to you. it's all that. So, I think I know where you are in terms of your camp on this. But what are your thoughts on this sort of this separation, or at times even conflict between these two worlds?
I don't understand the tribalism. And it like Bitcoin maximalism reminds me of when I was in high school. I was first creating Miss Teen Crypto, and I had teachers coming up to me saying to delete my Twitter account because Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme. And they didn't want to learn. But the problem is they didn't want to learn what it was, which is what ironic. The teachers that are teaching don't want to learn. So, I that's what Bitcoin maxis remind me of, is just like you're saying one thing is wrong just because you didn't look into anything else, where you just don't agree with what it is. So I do think Bitcoin is amazing. It's a store of value. I think it's always going to be looked at as that. It's my biggest bag. It's my favorite. That's what got me into crypto, was Bitcoin. I just think that, Bitcoin can't do everything. And I think we're seeing that a little bit more recently, where people are trying to build on Bitcoin, do ordinals, BRC20 tokens, and it's putting stress on the network, which means that you want to keep Bitcoin feasible to use, but we're seeing the gas fees are going up. So we realize in order for us to build a truly decentralized world, we could not only be our own bank and take control of our value with things like Bitcoin, we need to build a decentralized internet and take control of our data that's obviously being taken advantage of on an everyday basis with the traditional platforms we're using every day. So I do think we need to decentralize our wealth with Bitcoin, but we also need to decentralize our data and our identity with other blockchains.
I hear that. Given that there are now at this point, I believe, over 20,000 crypto coins or tokens out there, I mean, what percentage of these do you think, or how many of them do you think, offer any type of genuine value? When I say this, I don't mean, catching a pump and, getting lucky on some meme coin or something like this, but actual tangible value for the future of the internet and therefore humanity, as you say it. So you recognize Bitcoin as the store of value. You talk about decentralized applications, but of all these different things that are out there, I mean, in my view, I think 99.9% plus of stuff is garbage. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think this is like the beginning of the internet, where there were so many things coming out, like everything was a .com, right? And what crypto is just code. So no one could stop someone from creating code, executing code, interacting with code. It's a borderless world, I guess you could say, just like the internet. So I think a lot of this is just going to be like natural evolution, survival of the fittest. You have things that survive after a long amount of time. I think this is where people are just experimenting, see what they could do with the blockchain. I think in the future, there's going to be a lot less, maybe like a few hundred cryptocurrencies, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of different blockchains for different things. There might be private blockchains for institutions, decentralized blockchains for like the internet, and just digital identity, things like that. So I think in the future, it's going to dwindle down to like a nice couple hundred, maybe. I think right now is like that experimentation time where people just want to use the technology and see what it can do. That's it from my perspective. And it's also showing a free market too. People are very interested in being able to take part in a market where it's not getting halted, right? Like you have stocks that are being halted left and right. It's more of a controlled environment, where crypto, you could take that risk of making gains or taking that risk of losing it all. And I think that's what people are really like looking at right now as well. But there's a lot of great things being built as well.
Yeah. What do you touched on this briefly, but what are your thoughts on this sort of tribalism? I know you don't. It sounds like you're not a fan of it. But how has that even impacted yourself with what you do? Do you find that of course, you've got your following, and you get positive feedback? Do you find that you sometimes clash due to these different tribal factions? Because it's not even just the sort of Bitcoin maximalist versus crypto world. Even with individual coins, with individual cryptos, you have like people who are very tribal and very cultish, in reality. about their individual thing, right? They might even give their group some type of name, and then they're online and they're bickering and back and forthing and attacking each other, and it can be amusing sometimes. But I know my perspective, but I'm curious to know what you make out of that and how you yourself have, if you've experienced that, what that's been like for you.
I've been pretty spread out throughout the entire time I've been in crypto. So I love Bitcoin. I love like looking at the macroeconomic scene of the world. I love looking at NFTs, decentralized applications, just different use cases for crypto. So I'm pretty widespread. I'm like a blockchain enthusiast. Like I'm here for it all. I'm here for the innovation. I want to see what we can do. Because in my opinion, I see there's tribalism, like there's Bitcoin maxis, there's ETH maxis, there's NFT maxis. At the end of the day, we're all a part of one revolution, right? The reason why we're in crypto is because we want to change the financial system. So for me, it's almost like, why are we fighting each other when if one wins, we all win because we're all after that same goal?
It's interesting you say that. I don't think that's the Bitcoin maxi perspective. I
And
say this
I
as someone
think,
who's surrounded by a lot of them that spends a lot of time. I think that
yeah.
the argument there would be that the mission is different, and that the all these other cryptos that are not Bitcoin are detracting away and slowing down, if not preventing, the sort of overall long-term mission. There is also something with it that I do find. I'll let you respond to that. One thing I do think that can be funny and somewhat hypocritical, though, is when all the talk, from the Bitcoin maxi perspective, is it is largely based around freedom and liberty, and I do find an irony with like constantly attacking and bashing and condemning people who are using freedom to be interested in Ethereum or Cardano or all these other things that are, almost like words that you're not even allowed to mention in certain circles. And from my perspective, I'm like, okay, well, I'm very, very bullish on Bitcoin specifically. I'm not going to stick some label on myself, but I'm much more of a Bitcoiner than a crypto in general person. Although I've kind of like dabbled in all these different things over the years, just out of curiosity and getting to learn and understand it, which is what has made me think, okay, Bitcoin is very separate to all these other things. But at the same time, it's like, if you're advocating freedom and liberty, financial freedom and liberty, then you might be annoyed that there's 20,000 different coins out there, most of which, you might think are rubbish and are all going to go to zero and whatever. But I think once you start wanting to, I don't know, overly attack or prevent people from kind of playing around with these other things or putting their money into them, then that's not really in line with the freedom proposition either. That's kind of how I see it from the different angles.
No, 100%. I agree with you because I think it's unfair to say, "Oh, invest in crypto, be a part of this new system, but you can't go experiment with other blockchain because it's trash." That's like going to like I went to the auto show recently in New York. You go in there, there's all these different car dealerships and they're displaying their different cars, but that's like saying you can only go to one dealership because the rest of them are horrible cars. You can't really say that. I think what you people should say is, "Hey, I'm a little personally more Bitcoin forward for X, Y, and Z. And maybe you should go experiment with that technology, see if you enjoy it compared to Bitcoin, and come back to us and see if you still want to say Bitcoin only." I think you should always encourage people to see what else is out there besides just canceling it. It's like saying you don't like a food without trying it first. Did you experiment with the technology? Did you see how it works? Do you see if it could actually solve a real world problem? And then if not, then of course stick with Bitcoin. I think it's always freedom of choice. You want to be a Bitcoin maxi? Maxi your heart out. You want to go into Ethereum? DeFi your heart out. See how it all works. But at least you give it a chance before making an assumption. That's a
Yeah.
lot of the time not true.
Yeah, that's true. I think, it's interesting because I think it's two things that why people often have this mindset. Well, beyond just normal human tribalism, but I think that a lot of people go through like I know for a fact, right? A lot of people who would call themselves Bitcoin maximalists used to dabble in all these other things, right? They got into it the same way everyone else is, and they want to kind of save people the pain of like experimenting in all these things and having their bags go to zero or this or getting rug pulled, getting scammed or whatever. They want people to avoid all that. So part of it I think is like a look, okay, like I did all this stuff so you don't have to, and this one thing is the answer. And people can be very sort of dogmatic about that. And then I think also the other part of it is I guess I think there's the ethical perspective where if you do genuinely think that something is a scam, then obviously you want to not just dissuade people from it, but you're going to get mad at people who promote it, right? So if you think X cryptocurrency is a scam, right? You think this whole thing is just, a giant rug pull. And you will hear people say, like everything outside Bitcoin, like it's all a scam, right? The word scam is used a lot. Everything's a scam. And so if that is if that is what someone genuinely believes, then I do understand. I can kind of put my brain in their head and understand, okay, you're getting angry at all this stuff and you're getting angry at these influencers and YouTubers and Twitter accounts that are like promoting all these, as far as you're concerned, scams, right? Which people are going to put in their money. They're going to lose their money. There's an ethical component to it as well. So I do see like the different angles. I also do think that the truth is people are going to go on their own journey of exploration in most parts, and it's also the best way to learn, right? Like losing money is not fun, getting rug pulled is not fun, getting scammed, losing your coins because you kept them on an exchange is not fun. Like it all sucks. And I do think you should try to get people to avoid those things, but also human beings are very stubborn and want to put their hand on the hot stove and take the burn themselves to know that it's hot. If you tell them that it's hot, like they're still, many people are still kind of going to do it. So
Yes.
I think the truth is kind of regardless of how it's approached, people are going to keep on getting scammed and people are going to keep on getting rug pulled and people are going to have some of their bags go to zero and so on. I just think that's kind of the nature of how people learn. But hopefully if they stay along for the ride, then in the long term, we will ultimately arrive at the conclusion, right? If all the Bitcoin maximalists are absolutely correct and Bitcoin is the only thing of value and everything else, including ETH, like everything else is going to go to, going to go down the track, then we'll see that, right? We'll see it over time. I think the proof is going to be in the pudding. So, I think it's good for people to have their convictions in certain ways. It can be good, but it can go over. I've seen it very much go overboard when it's just becomes like a very sort of personal thing and people are just being attacked and I'm like, okay guys, like this is
It gets a little too malicious
yeah,
sometimes.
it can get overly malicious where I'm kind of like, guys, like this is all like magic internet money. Right, like it's
Yeah.
not like
People get
it can
emotionally attached to their bags, and I think that's what, like, people feel like they have a lot of wealth on the line, but they also feel like their passions are so, like, true and, like, finite, like, people really just get attached to their bags where they really want it to go up, but sometimes they don't even want to sell it because they're too attached, they want to let it go. So I feel like there's a lot of emotion that plays into cryptocurrency and even the traditional markets as well. People are complaining like, oh, you could lose your money in crypto, but bank stocks are struggling. A lot of bank stocks down 90+%. First Republic went to zero because they had to get acquired by JP Morgan. So, like there's a battle of like, what's really good for investments anymore. Because everything we thought was like great, everything that a traditional maybe Wall Street person would look through and say, hey, this is my checklist for something I would invest in, it's not the same anymore. I feel like a lot of that stuff honestly went out the window.
Yeah. So with the content that you put out there and everything you're doing, building your following, doing your daily show, live events, and so on, what would you say is your overall mission? What are you trying to do with it all?
My overall mission has been the same since I started, which is spreading crypto adoption to Gen Z and educating the masses on cryptocurrency and NFTs. Because again, this is a revolution. This is a part of, taking control of your wealth, owning your wealth, and not having somebody hold your hand like we've been used to for hundreds of years now. This is something where we have to bring it forward ourselves. People are saying, oh, we're going to wait for a generational wealth shift. Like, no, let's take control of our wealth. We have to stop waiting because honestly, there might not be anything for us to wait for if we don't take control of it now. So that's my main goal. And I'll always be like positive and I'll always try to put out the best content possible. I really, if you watch my daily show, I really do my research because I feel like it's my duty to people to help them because that's all I'm trying to do is help people. Just bring people in, realize self sovereignty.
Awesome. In terms of what you do for the past couple of years. How have you found? So you're Gen Z, right?
Yeah.
You're a Zoomer.
Yeah.
I've heard about you Zoomers.
Yeah, I was Zooming in
So
preschool for 2 years. It's horrible.
I love how every generation is like the source of all problems, right? So
Literally,
you have
yeah.
people who just blame the boomers for everything. Then you have people who blame all millennials are the problem.
Ah, those
Gen
millennials.
Z's, yeah, every generation is the problem,
Yeah.
and no one considers like who's raising those generations. But how have you found like of people of different ages, and how are the perceptions different? Are Gen Z more open overall to crypto, or is it more of a millennial thing? How's the older generation? What's it like in your generation specifically compared to the others?
Gen Z is highly receptive to crypto. I mean, I got invited to my former high school twice. I went back there in May to do two investing classes about Bitcoin, and the attention is so there. Kids weren't even looking at their iPads or their phones; like they were actually listening. People really want to get involved. Gen Z, it's so easy for us to get involved because we've been digitally native our entire lives. All we wanted when we were younger was an iTunes gift card, which again is virtual money to go on a virtual app store, buy virtual games. Within those virtual games, you're buying virtual currencies. You're buying virtual items like weapons or dresses, whatever it may be, except that you didn't own it. So even an iBook, right? We started buying iBooks, but we didn't own that book. We couldn't transfer that book to a friend. We couldn't sell it when we were done with it. We are pretty much stuck with these assets. Whereas with cryptocurrency, now Gen Z realizes that we could actually own it. We could trade on the secondary market, have value for our items. We also have that saying, if you didn't take a selfie, you weren't there. So we also know the concept of owning our digital property and knowing what's ours is ours and no one can take it from us. We use Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, things like that all the time. So I think all of crypto is very easy to just slide right into. I think one of the barriers to entry, though, is for kids under 18. You can't get on an exchange. You can only really go to a Bitcoin ATM. I think that's going to change because obviously you go to the bank, a 13-year-olds are allowed to have a debit card, but they can't buy crypto. So there's a little bit of a double standard there. But Gen Z easily could get into crypto. When I was in high school, one of the courses was digital art. Now the next step is putting that digital art on a marketplace and being your own business. Like Bitcoin cryptocurrency allows you to be your own bank, but NFTs can let you be your own business, your own art gallery, your own record label, revolutionize your own store, your own creativity. So I think Gen Z is easily receptive. I think more so with the older generation, it's more about, oh, what do you mean being my own bank? Because I think a lot of people grew up again like with someone holding their hand, the bank always being there for them, that they can't conceptualize what it means to take responsibility for their items, for their wealth. Where Gen Z, it's a lot more easy for us. We're like, oh, digital wallet, cold storage. Okay, cool.
I hear that. And what are you finding that Gen Z are most interested in within the crypto world? Is it Bitcoin? Is it NFTs? Is it altcoins? Is it something else that's out there? Is there like a primary thing that you're finding that people are drawn to? Or are people more interested in Bitcoin or NFTs, for example? Are you finding a general preference in that generation?
I think a lot of kids are interested in Bitcoin because of the money aspect where you could just send and receive money and it's easy. It's on your phone, it's in a wallet. But I think Gen Z also really loves NFTs as well because, like I said before, if you didn't take a selfie, you weren't there. So a lot of people are creating videos. There's millions of content creators in Gen Z. They want to own their work. There's a lot of people that even take my YouTube videos. They'll cut out my face, but use my interviews and my voice on their YouTube channel. So I want to be able to own my property. I want to be able to own my content. And I think blockchain gives you that opportunity to verify yourself, verify your content. So I think Gen Z really likes NFTs, being your own store, just cutting out these third parties. You want to be a musician. Well, the record label is going to take almost everything from you, take the rights to your music. If you're an artist, you have to go to a physical gallery and they have to approve you and obviously probably take a cut and say, okay, I approve your art to be in my gallery. No, take control of yourself. Put out your music to people that directly support you. Put out your art to people that will directly support you on a global stage, just not one place. So I think that's very important as well. Gen Z loves it all. It's all about self empowerment for us.
I hear that. I think you're wise beyond your years. Do you know that?
Oh, Thank you. I appreciate that. I
No,
really
you
work
are.
hard. I think I'm just a nerd. Like,
No, it's interesting, like what you're saying. Even just in terms of kind of mindset and philosophy, you're light years ahead of many people who are even in their 30s, just in terms of thinking about some of these things. A
thank
lot
you.
of people just go through their life and they don't even just don't think about this stuff. They don't think
No.
about it at all, let alone be able to articulate it. So yeah, just giving you some props on that front. Have you always had that kind of mindset, or is that something that you think was instilled in you from your parents, from your family? Tell me more about your even pre. I'm kind of curious to know even prior to you like getting involved in crypto, because you got into that literally in school.
Yeah.
So what was life like up until that point of, your dad telling you about Bitcoin? I'm curious to know a little bit more, like just where this mentality comes from.
I think I've always been really nerdy. When I was in school, I was like, the teachers would always come to me and be like, "Randy, can you help this person with that?" I was always getting like top grades. Like I just was like loving school because it was something I was good at, and I genuinely loved learning. Like everything you threw at me, I was like, "Yes, yes, I want to get the best grades. I want to do like everything." And I was also very into community. When I was in school, I was always doing community stuff. I was doing charity stuff like my whole life because I just genuinely enjoyed people. So I've always like to had that hardworking mindset because I always saw my dad was a really hard worker as well. He was, kind of on his own, like around my age. So he really like instilled in me, like, you have to work hard. Time's going to fly by. And he was correct. I mean, I'm already 20, I'm out of school. And he was telling me when I was in middle school, like, this is going to fly by. You got to think about life. So I always really liked school. I always wanted to like be a reporter of some sort. There were videos of me just like interviewing random people like at the beach and things like that when I was younger. So everything like really tied in for me. And I was a little like on the sad side in high school because people didn't get me. I was always like, my dad always told me I was a little bit more like mature than others. So it was like hard for me in high school because a lot of people just didn't understand that. And people were just like, why is she always in her books? Why doesn't she like, I was on the cheerleading team and I didn't want to like gossip. And they were like, why doesn't she want to gossip? I'm like, I'd rather not do that. Like, I was always very like, mellow to myself almost. Like I was always very social. It's just people didn't get the nerdy side of me. So, like people made fun of me a little bit. And then, by the time like I started to get into crypto, I was asking like some people, should I start a YouTube channel? And they're like, you're just gonna get made of more than you already are. People, it was bad. So I was just like, you know what? They don't understand me. Let them not understand me even more. So I just started making videos. There was like one video I did with a friend in high school. If anyone wants to scroll back to that, there were people laughing at me in the background, but I really embraced it because I was just like, they don't understand. I had teachers coming up to me saying, "Randy, are you okay?" I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Well, there's teachers and students talking about you." I was like, "Good, let them talk. Like, let's get after it." And then less than a year later, I was back at the high school teaching kids about Bitcoin and went again this year as well. So, I'm happy I did it because it really taught me independence and to like not think about what others think of me. Just like be like, even like the creator of Doge like tweeted something about it yesterday. Like, just be unapologetically yourself. And I feel like that resonates with people. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do it. Be a nerd. Embrace your inner
I love
nerd.
it. I love it. I agree with you entirely. And it's such a limiting belief for people.
Yeah.
Like there are so many hundreds of millions of billions of people who go through life and they're so afraid of what other people are going to say, being criticized, being laughed at, being misunderstood, being this and that, that they never do what they actually want to do, right?
Yeah.
They never start that YouTube channel. They never start that podcast. They never write that book. They never, say that thing or, make that music. Like they just don't, they have the creativity within them. They have the entrepreneurial spirit. They have the desire, but they're so fixated on what someone else might say or what someone else might think. Look, like people are going to judge you no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
If you're a lazy bum who doesn't do anything interesting, like people are going to judge you, right? If you're hardworking and you're ambitious or whatever, people are going to judge you, right? If you're successful, people are going to hate on you. People are going to be jealous. People are going to be envious. They're going to take shots at you. If you're unsuccessful, people are going to take shots at you. People are going to call you names. Like it doesn't literally no matter what you do. I'm like, look, you may as well do it and become successful because you're gonna be, people are gonna have their thoughts regardless, right? So
Yeah.
why not do the thing you want to do, and why not become great at it, and just accept like, okay, in fact, the bigger your audience gets, the more people know you, the more people like you. Here's something crazy that I've learned, like just in real time in my own career, is like there are people out there who will literally dislike you because other people like you,
Yes.
right? Like there's people
Yes.
who dislike you who literally just because other people like you, like they're in such a negative mind state that they're just like, hey, this person is helping people, or this person is popular, or this person's getting attention, or people like this person, so I'm going to hate on this person because they're liked by others. And it's like, why would you even try to appease somebody like that, right? Like that
It
is
doesn't
the
make
last
sense.
person whose opinion you should care about, right? Like that is just 100% dork loser energy. It's just like, cool, okay, I
Dork
see you
loser
there.
energy. Yeah.
It is. I'm
It
just
is.
like, this is madness. Like this is crazy. And so many people, they don't even consciously know it, but they allow that type of individual and that type of mentality to control them, right? If you
Absolutely.
don't make a YouTube, if you want to make a YouTube channel, or you want to write a book, or you want to be a musician, or you want to start a business, and the thing preventing you doing it is this type of person out there in the ether who's going to hate, who's going to naysay, who's going to pick at you, whatever, you're actually letting those people, you're letting the dorks of society, you're letting the biggest losers control you, right? They want you to be where they're at instead of them leveling up. And I think when you see it like that, it's like, man, just go out there and do it, because I don't know, they just don't matter. I think people need to understand, like, not really genuine, not everyone's opinion matters at all.
No.
Some people's opinions do not matter. That's going to sound, some people might think that sounds cocky, or it sounds, I'm like, look, there's people whose opinions, like, it does not matter. It literally doesn't matter. The opinions that matter are, people obviously whom you love and respect, and who ideally want the best for you. Those opinions matter. Your opinion of yourself obviously matters. Your audience matters, right? The people who actually do like you and want to support you and whatever, their opinions matter. The people who are never gonna like you, never gonna support anything you do, never gonna like, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. I've done podcasts where the people are complaining about me. The only people who ever complain about me interviewing certain people or doing this or doing that are people who do not even listen. I'm like,
Exactly.
you've never even listened to my podcast. I've done 250 plus episodes. You've listened to zero of them. You've never bought anything from me. You've never supported me. You've never even given me a word of encouragement. And you now want to dictate who I'm allowed to talk to. I'm like, you don't matter. Like I don't care about your opinion. If you don't listen to my music, and you're not even open to listening to it, like, your opinion on it doesn't matter. You're never going to come to a show. You're never going to buy a CD. You're never going to buy a T-shirt. You're never going to even listen. You're never even going to give it a stream on. Like, you're not doing anything. So, if I put out a song, and like my people who genuinely like typically like my music are like, oh, I don't like that song. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's not a good song, because like my actual audience doesn't like it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's just the randomers, I don't know, man. You just gotta.
No, I agree, because sometimes like you hear that voice, like these people in your head saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." Just do it. Like make yourself feel better. And like even people close to you, could say something to you. Like I've had family that doesn't understand previous employers. Like I was a dental assistant while I was also starting this, and they didn't understand crypto. They actually
Mm-hmm.
hated it and made fun of me
Mm-hmm.
for it. I was like, wow, I can't even go to work and be a professional. Um, it was just like getting to that point. And even when I was in high school and like kids just didn't like they were making fun of me, I was like, what do I have to do to change to please these people? And I realized like I can't change to please these people. They're like, you just have to be you. And that was like a hump that like was near impossible for me to get over. But I think once I did, I felt so free. Like there was one day where I was like, I'm over this. And I know that sounds so crazy to say, but it was just like this one moment where I was like, goodbye. And I just like, kept doing my thing. And even like when I was doing Miss Teen Crypto in school, and people were just bullying me online just because I started, people didn't know Miss Teen Crypto was real. People were speculating. I was like, you know what? I'm a good person. I know my intentions are true. I'm just going to keep doing what I do. And eventually people are going to see that. And if I
Yeah.
went the traditional route, if I said, like, if I did what everyone else wanted me to do in my life, like go to college, do all this traditional stuff, I wouldn't be happy. I'm the happiest I've ever been because I'm doing something I love. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah, that's powerful. And the truth is, those people when it really starts to click, and this also goes for, friends, family members, even people who do like and care about you, but like, they don't understand whatever. What you really have to do is you have to become successful. You have to succeed, right? Like once you succeed at something, even the people who were like, man, I don't know about that one. Like, I don't know about this. Like if they see you and it's like, okay, well, it worked, it worked out for him. It worked out for her. Then that's when I found that people like truly, truly like just respect it. I mean, for myself, like I've had such a long journey, right? I mean, I put out my first music project. I released my first album when I was 19, right? I'm now 36. And it took until my early 30s for certain things. Like I had some success in my 20s. There's people who would have said like I was successful at, by 25 or whatever, but like on a certain level, right? I hadn't like hit a certain echelon yet. It was just kind of like grind. And when people see you doing this for such a long time, and it's like, man, like you've been doing this thing for like a decade, and it's not there yet. And then it's interesting how like over the last couple of years, this stuff has really sort of like rocketed up for me in many ways. And people like it now people like really get it. Now it's like, oh, okay. Like, all right. He did know what he did know what he was doing, right? He wasn't like just,
exactly. I don't know why people just don't have faith in you to begin with. Like, like I was talking to a family member and I was just like, why didn't you guys even like believe in me? Like even now, like a lot of them don't. And she like one of them was just like, like that's like saying you want to be like a famous baseball player, like that's like near impossible to do. I was like, but why don't you believe in me and say, hey, like go for it? You know what I mean? I feel like people need to shift that perspective from saying, hey, you shouldn't do that because the chances are low. And instead saying, you know what, you should do it because the chances are low and you should be ambitious to get there. Like that's my perspective versus like a lot of other people. So it's like you have to have a different mindset, I feel.
It's a very, very powerful mindset. There's two things then. Let me see if I can think of what was just going on in my mind. I think one of them is that what you're doing it's new ground.
Yes.
It's new ground, right? There's no precedent for being a crypto YouTuber and podcaster. Like, well, what the heck even is that? Like, how do you, right? Like to anyone over 30, like what even, like, what is that, right? Unless they are specifically involved, unless it's someone like myself who's like in that world and gets it. Most people are like, well, what even is that? Like, that's not a job. Go become a lawyer. Go get your doctorate, right? Like it. So I think that's a factor. And then I think another thing is the, you brought up something interesting in there, and this is like the concept of statistics, right? Because statistics are sometimes very useful and sometimes very unhelpful, right? So you've probably heard statistics like, 90% of businesses fail in the first few years, or like X percent of things fail. And it's, these are good numbers to kind of know, but they don't tell the whole picture, right? So for example, don't quote me on this because it's not going to be exact, but something like 80 to 90% of podcasts never get past the 4th episode. So of all the podcasts that have ever been started, the vast majority don't make it to episode number 5 because people give up, people quit, people drop out, people are not consistent, people don't have the discipline to keep on going with it. They want the results quick, and so they drop out. So someone might hear that statistic and go, oh, well, so there's no point starting a podcast or a YouTube channel. How many YouTube channels make it to 100,000 subscribers? Under 1%, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, well, if you are committed, if just by getting to episode number 5, you're already in the top 10%. That's how you can flip it. Right? Just by doing 5 episodes, you've already surpassed inconsistency because a lot of people drop out. So like, there's no point comparing yourself to people who are not committed, right? Like,
I agree.
The average man can do 0 pull-ups. Okay? The average person, both men and women, obviously, pull-ups are a lot harder for women, but even amongst men, most women can't do a pull-up, but most men can do 0. But like, as someone who's been going to the gym for 20 years and training, I don't care about the average. Like, well, the average has no, right? If I'm like, oh, well, the average man cannot do a pull-up, so like, let me not be able to do a pull-up. I'm like, no, I'm trying to knock out 30 in a row, right? Like, what's the point of even comparing myself to that? Because I'm not that thing. And there, like, there are things I actually tweeted this the other day. I said self-awareness is knowing when you're the average and knowing when you're the exception. Because there's things like, because you have to know, like, I know I'm exceptional at certain things. So I'm not going to ever compare myself to the average on that, because the average statistics don't matter. Like, I'm like, well, that's not me. So it's irrelevant. I don't, like I said, the average man could do 0 pull-ups. The average business, like, I don't care. Like, that's not me. I'm exceptional in this regard. So I'm going to seek, massively outsized result. Yeah. Then there's stuff I'm average at, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, the average person takes, I don't know, how long does it take the average person to learn Japanese, right? So if I want to learn Japanese, I might be like, okay, I'm probably like, I think in terms of language aptitude, I'm above average, but I'm not like fully exceptional, right? So if it takes the average person 10,000 hours of, I'm making up numbers, 10,000s of hours of study to learn Japanese, I might be like, okay, cool, maybe it'll take me like 7 or 8,000, right? But I'm not going to be like, okay, well, I want to learn Japanese, but I'm not going to do it because most people fail. It's like, well, if you are committed, then you'll get there, right? You will get there. You just got to keep on going. You got to keep on moving. You might not know what level of success you'll be able to reach, but you'll get somewhere, right? If you keep on going with what you're doing, all whatever metrics you go by, subscribers, listens, followers, whatever, it's just going to keep on going up. Are you going to be able to reach like 100 million? I don't know. Maybe not. Are you 10 million? Who knows? But it's going to keep going up. So I don't know. I'm just on a little rant here because I think it's so important. I think the mindset is so important, and I think I'm very impressed by the mindset and the way that you frame these things. Because for someone someone double your age, most people don't have it. So to have that at 20, you're going to be a very successful young lady.
Thank you. I hope so. I'm working so hard, like nothing has ever come easy, like, so, and I know that from a young age. So, for me, it's just like work, 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 work. And and I love what I do. So for me, it's like not work. It's like work, but not work. You know what I mean? And I genuinely love my community, like the people that surround me every day. Like, I'm just so, so grateful for that foundation. And I know I have a great foundation now. So if any, like, things go up in the future, I know I have like really great people behind me, and I know like where I came from. I know what it takes to, get to the top, because I'm working there right now. And I see people like you that, you're just effortlessly like yourself. You're not willing to hold back. You say what you need to say, and you pull it very elegantly, where, people are able to have just an open conversation. I think we need more of that as well. So I have a lot of respect for you. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
No, I'm serious. Like, I even say it to my dad all the time. I'm like, Zuby's really killing it. Like, I have so much respect for you.
Thank you. Another thing that's key and another thing that's vital that you have is just kindness. Honestly, kindness is, I think, in this age of the internet, especially, I think kindness is very underrated. I think that people, because if you spend a lot of time online and you're dealing with the back and forth and the hate, and you're dealing with like just avatars, right? People just see you as an avatar, right? They just see that little circle with your face in it and a name, and they see your bio, and it's just like they form their whole, they create this caricature in their head of who you are, your story, what you believe, everything. I mean, I'm sure you've learned stuff about yourself on the internet that you yourself were not even aware of, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm constantly learning all these new things about myself, about, like who I'm funded by and which organizations I'm a member of and my history. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, that's interesting. Like, when did I become, Illuminati and Freemason? And like, when did I start being funded by this organization? I'm like, I'm not aware. Like, show me the checks. Like, I'm not receiving this money. But yeah, I think what's the point I'm even making here? I know I just think people are going to talk. Yeah, but I think that people lose their humanity online. I'm sure you've seen this, right? You see this every day, right? People forget that they're dealing with other human beings, and they just see people as avatars, and then they just attack the avatar. And so I think that something that's really powerful both online and offline is genuinely, like, say, just being kind to people, just being kind. And I think it even goes further, because we live in this time where I think if you are not genuinely a kind and decent person, you will at some point be exposed.
Absolutely.
You can no longer be like nice in front of the camera and like, pretending to be this and this. And then in your personal life, like you're a scumbag and you're treating other people really nastily, or you're like abusive or whatever. It will come to light. Like the detectives will get you, like something will come to light. So And I think that's kind of good, right? I think it encourages more authenticity and more integrity when people know, in previous generations. I mean, look at all the Epstein stuff and whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people could like have this like public face, and the public face is like, oh, like I'm this and that, and then like in the dark they're doing like
It's
horrible
manipulation.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it always comes to light now. So
I
yeah, be
enjoy it.
kind.
I enjoy it. And, that's why it's like you're yourself, right? That's why, like, I love bringing up, like, the theme of this podcast, like, being yourself, because, like, you would have been exposed for that already. Like, in your music, you could probably hear, like, who you are because you're just expressing yourself within your music. So people really get, a greater understanding of you more than most. But
Mm,
I definitely do think, like, if you're in front of the camera for long enough, you're in the public eye for long enough, people are going to investigate you, like, no problem. And people meet you in person as well. So
yeah,
people really do like get a sense for who you are. And I definitely think that that stands. And I like authenticity. That's why, like, like I present myself the way I am. Like, I don't do my hair is like, like I don't try to like make myself look a certain way, pound my face with makeup or like do all these crazy things. Cause I just want to like be me and like have people accept me for me and not have to put on this character that I'm not. And I feel like that's what a lot of creators did in the past that end up actually not working out for them. I've
yeah.
been watching YouTubers my whole life. So I see like how people change when they get, you know, into YouTube, like how they start, then how they change, and then how they get exposed for A, B, and C because they think they're above it all. So I've seen it all. I'd rather be me, talk about Bitcoin, crypto, good things, positive vibes, life.
Yeah, it's a much wiser. I don't even think of it as strategy, right? It's what you should just do, right?
I
From a
agree.
moral and ethical perspective. But I think even from a quote unquote strategic perspective, it's the smartest move strategically because in the short term, you can do all sorts of manipulation and lies and deception and whatever to make some short term quick money or to there's ways you can build a following very quickly or get views very quickly by just being unethical, right? You could just
Hmm.
just attack people, right? There's people who can grow. You can grow a whole YouTube channel or grow a Twitter account just attacking people, right? Find people who are popular who like just attack, 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 put their names in their video, whack them in the thumbnails, whatever, right? You can do it, but it's a really stupid long term strategy. Like it is extremely devastating long term strategy because number one, you're creating a really awful and hostile audience. You're creating an audience of people who are negative and who want to see you like attack and just want to see fight. Like those are not people who are genuinely supporters. They're just like nasty people. And the worst thing you can have is an audience of like 100,000 plus people who are just nasty and drawn to negativity and whatever. Because if you don't think they're going to celebrate when you fall on the sword, then you are tripping and you will fall on the sword at some point. You will say the wrong thing. You will like they're going to get you. Like they're going to get you. You also don't want to monetize and like it's I don't know. I think a lot of times people just don't think long term. And I think they just chase the numbers and they see, oh, number going up, so that means it's good. And then they kind of just feed into it. They get captured by the audience and they're just negative, negative, attack, attack, attack. Like I see it all the time. Like there's accounts that just constantly like attacking me or attacking people I know or attack. And I'm just like, bro, like what's up with this person? Like if you want to interact, there are better ways of getting attention than just attacking people. And also people don't forget it. So if you just burn all your bridges, you burn it's like when people celebrate getting blocked on Twitter. And I'm like, it's not an achievement, bro. It's not an achievement. Like if you just go out and you get blocked by tons of like prominent people or tons of people who are like helping, it's like, okay, you've now just completely lost access to this. This is a person who could have potentially helped you or you could have learned something from or whatever. And you're just like annoying everyone so much that like you're just getting blocked across the realm. I'm like, well, okay, well, you're kind of ensuring your own failure because we do need each other. We do need relationships. We do, you don't need every single one, but like, why just be that person who's so obnoxious that no one even, because if I block someone, it means that like, I don't even want you in your, like, I want no association. You know what I mean? Like it's not an
Yeah,
achievement. Like,
it's
like
completely
I don't, yeah, like I don't block on a hair trigger. Like for me to block someone, it's like, okay, you've really passed a certain line. And then they're like, Zuby blocked me. And I'm like, not an achievement, bro. Like it's really,
it's for the clout at the end of the
it's
day
really
because they know
not.
you have a lot of followers. So they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I got have his attention. He got mad at me. So let's just hop on the
Yeah.
bandwagon.
But
It's so
you've
pointless.
got my attention. But look at how you've got my attention. right?
Yeah.
This versus I block you, and then okay, you get what, 3 minutes of like a dopamine hit, and then and then that's it, and you can never like interact with that person, and they're never gonna like even like they don't even want to like associate with you or whatever. I don't know. I don't. People are
It's so
strange.
lame. It's
Yeah,
so lame.
I don't
I
get
don't
it.
get the mindset. I think it's a lot of extra work to be mean than nice. Like
It
you
is, isn't
get
it?
like I feel like just like dropping a like on someone's post is so much easier than just like maybe not liking the post and hitting that comment button and be like you suck. Like what
Yeah.
to me like that's such a waste of time. And I understand like maybe things need to be said on like like people pointing out like oh wait you did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a point where you could say hey you're doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's a point where you're just like being a butt. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like not being a nice person.
Dude,
And I think you should just, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of
I
energy.
had I had someone who, I don't know who this person was, but for a month they emailed me, like actual email. They were emailing me from multiple like separately created accounts, like daily for a
That's a lot of
month,
work.
just like just like with racial abuse, just like with the N word and calling me like a monkey and this like just every like daily like they were dedicated like every multiple, so like because you block one account, right, and they have like different email accounts, and I'm just like, someone is sitting there spending I don't know how many hours creating accounts, creating whole like it takes a while to create an email account,
You
right,
need a
creating
phone
whole email account,
number,
and just
everything.
going, and I'm just like, who is, like, I don't know who this person is,
That's
and it
disgusting.
did stop after a while, but you're just like, what on earth, like I don't know like what is in someone's brain that they're like, okay, this is a good use of my time. Or I've had people who literally they go like they'll subscribe to you on YouTube just to like dislike your videos. Like they'll go to each video and they'll dislike it, and sometimes they'll leave a comment or whatever, and they're just there dislike. Like they're literally going from each of your videos, or they're going on Apple Podcast to leave a negative review on your pod. I'm like, this is a lot of effort. If you don't like it, you can just keep it moving. You can just like not watch. You can not listen. You can not engage. You can listen to the stuff that you want to. I've never, like, there's so many people out there I disagree with, or like whatever. I can't even imagine like my brain. All right, let me go on all their things. Let me find their email address. Actually, let me find their email address and like write a letter, or like just like copy some insult a million times and just like send it to them.
It's disgusting. It's horrible. I hate that so much. It's such a waste of time.
It's
Like,
so strange.
for me, like, of course, there's things I see online that I don't like. I just keep scrolling. I'm like, okay. Or you know what? You put a mute on the person, or you just click those dots on Twitter that says, I'm not interested in this. I want to see less of this person. Like, there's so many ways to avoid that, that I
Yeah.
think it's just people that are bored and that they want to talk. They want to just see what they could do. I just think people are really deflect their emotions a lot of the time, because there's people that like made fun of me in the past, but they were just miserable freaking people. So it's just like they're just taking it out on me because they say, "All right, I'm doing fine, I'm doing my own thing," and they just want someone to pick at. Just like
Yeah.
it's not worth that.
And you know what's interesting on Twitter specifically is because it's public, right? When I see a certain type of comment on my thing, I often will go to that person's profile, and it's never someone who seems like happy and like well adjusted. Like they're every single tweet. I'm like, okay, it's not every single tweet is negative. Everything is angry. They're just like tweeting at people, insulting people, cussing people out, like nonstop, day after day after day after day. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's told me enough. That's told me enough. It's never, oh, I go to the person's profile and they look like happy and they look like they're enjoying their life. It's just someone in this very, very negative state. I do have a question, switching subjects a little. So you're now 20 years old. So we've got an issue here, Miss Teen Crypto. So what's the how long are you going to be Miss Teen Crypto? Is that have you thought about this?
I think I'm always going to be Miss Teen Crypto. I think in the future, people are going to like hear Miss Teen Crypto and know that I've been here since I was 17. And I'm not a teen anymore. I put it in my bio, guys. Don't get mad at me. It's in every bio on every platform that I'm 20. I have been here since I was 17, and I didn't think about it when I started. I just created the handle. I was just like, I just want to tweet, and I didn't want to use my real name. I wanted something that's like I was a girl, like I was a teen, like I was in crypto. So Miss Teen Crypto. So it just rolled off the tongue so great. So, and even I can't even change my name on Twitter without losing that blue blue check. So,
Oh, okay.
I got to think about that. But I think I'll always be Miss Teen Crypto. I think Miss Teen Crypto is just going to be something that's known. And at least I hope so. And I use my name a lot. Randy is all over my podcast. It's all over my channels as well. It's every news paper I've ever been in or outlet always has my name in it as well. So you could verify that I'm a person. But yeah, I think I'll always be Miss Teen Crypto. And I think it symbolizes a little bit of a revolution for me, at least in my community.
I hear that. So what have you got? What have you got going on? Is there any major project or goal coming up ahead that you want people to know about?
My major goal is to spread adoption. So help me spread adoption. I'm always doing different things. Like things just pop up for me all the time. Like sometimes I'm going to Fox. Like sometimes I'm going to a little event to talk about stuff. So just keep up with me and follow me. I'm at Miss Teen Crypto everywhere. But my daily show is like my priority. I love my daily show. I love the community I'm building there and just spreading like really good information that a lot of people need to know about. Sometimes it's confusing coming into crypto. What's a CBDC? What's going on with the banks? How does this all tie in together? And I kind of do that for you. And then the Miss Teen Crypto show as well that you've been on, just like hearing people's backgrounds, how they came to get to the point that we're at that they're at now. Because I think, especially in crypto, we all come from different places. We're so different from one another, but we all came and we're a part of the same revolution. I feel like that's really important for people to realize that you could start from nothing. You could be, whoever you are and still make it somewhere. And I think that's what the Miss Teen Crypto show does. And then I have educational content on my YouTube channel as well. But my main goal is education, positivity, and bring apart a digital revolution where we actually own our funds and stop being taken advantage of. We're strong people. And I think that's what people don't realize, that we're really strong. We have a lot of power. We just need to take it. So that's my main goal as well. Adoption, beautiful, good vibes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Randy, Miss Teen Crypto, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're helping and inspiring a lot of people. So just keep it up, and we will talk soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Zuby. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.